Chapter 116. Life and Death Marathon, 7. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. This wrapper is quite spicy. When news about the finals format being a marathon spread, the first ones to become restless were the governing officials in the eastern region. With the rampant presence of zombies outside now, unless a city was destroyed or they abandoned their positions to seek emergency refuge, the Alliance's officials couldn't easily leave their territories. Even though people couldn't come to them physically, communication requests bombarded incessantly, demanding Ilya provide a reasonable explanation. At the top floor of the tower, Ilya rested his chin lazily on his hand, one leg casually propped up while seated on a large leather sofa. The holographic screen shifted scenes, displaying an ongoing video conference where the magistrates from several eastern districts were engaged in a heated argument. "Don't think I don't know what game you're playing. Trying to shift the crisis of the Zombie King onto our territories to solve your problems. Why should we carry the burden for you while you enjoy your peaceful days?" "I object, strongly object. You're not even present. What are you objecting with?" someone immediately sneered. The first magistrate to speak choked momentarily. His city had already fallen, and he had long fled to District B. Speaking up now lacked any persuasive force. "We don't object, we warmly welcome it," the magistrates from Greenwater City and Rishufu declared, jumping in. Their District D held lower status. They finally had the chance to participate in such a meeting. Naturally, they had to maintain a firm stance. These two cities were currently in dire straits. They didn't know when the horde of zombies might strike. If the final contestants could eliminate the Zombie King, they wouldn't oppose it. They'd enthusiastically welcome it, celebrating with fireworks for days. "Hey, Hyman, say something too?" The magistrate of Hyman smirked disdainfully. "Be it zombies or humans, if they dare to intrude into my territory, don't blame the cannons for being blind. They won't return if they come." "You brute," Greenwater City and Rishufu scolded in unison. Participants exchanged glances in private. Only a few were aware of the true situation. It was said that Hyman had imported a batch of superpowered weapons from the northern base, highly lethal and specifically designed to deal with the Zombie King. The governors continued their arguments, expressing their grievances while conspicuously excluding the initiator of this marathon. No one asked for the opinion of the Ferrara magistrate. They regarded Ilya as an outsider, harboring a sense of wariness toward him. "There's a saying, alien minds among our own kind will always be different. No matter how advanced an artificial intelligence might be, it's still a machine, not of their species." Chen Zuyi from Tungwen also attended the meeting. When asked about his opinion on the matter, he diplomatically smiled and said, "Whatever you say is what it is. I have no objections. After all, I'm getting old, nearly 70. Stop lying, you're only 61. This sly old fox, he could talk his way out of anything. He only cared about himself, especially since Tungwen wasn't even on the marathon's route. It was said that recently there was an engineering-type awakener helping reinforce their defenses, so he had nothing to worry about." Ilya shifted legs lazily and yawned absent-mindedly. These were human politicians, each with their hidden agendas, quite amusing indeed. Regardless of how much they argued, it wouldn't have any impact on the throne race event. Feeling gradually bored, Ilya rose from the sofa and casually left the top floor. However, in the holographic projection, his image lingered, but his pupils discreetly shifted to a glassy color, his expression more rigid. The automatic sensing door opened, revealing a magnificent reception room where a woman sat with her back to him, sipping tea from a bone china cup. Ilya walked around and sat opposite her. "Magistrate He, regarding our cooperation, what are your thoughts?" He Chuhong set down her teacup and looked up. She wore black framed glasses perched on her nose, her hair impeccably arranged. Wrinkles adorned her eyes and two deep lines near her mouth made her look unapproachable, exuding an air of seriousness that demanded respect. "I can't make decisions about establishing communication channels with District B for you. Let me correct that, it's not District B, it's the northern base, Ilya chuckled. The Alliance's 20 District B areas were either controlled by influential families, like B6 North County and B8 Urgia, or directly administered by the Central Court, as in B9's Askar, with only one exception. B10, the northern base, stood outside both power structures. It remained the largest surviving refuge within the Alliance after the apocalypse, housing over 1 million high-level awakeners and tens of millions of civilians, dubbed as humanity's last hope. Ilya was a rare democratically elected magistrate and a super AI. Despite Farah's good order, technological advancements, and its unique style in District C, his presence was still excluded by the Central Court. The information privileges between Districts C and B were vastly different. Privilege was exactly what Ilya urgently needed now. I will report this matter to General Yi, He Chuhong said slowly. Ilya raised an eyebrow. I thought you, Magistrate He, was the one truly in charge at the northern base. He Chuhong's expression turned cold. Be careful with your words. I am merely General Yi's deputy. Ilya's ice-blue gaze fixed on He Chuhong, his tone carrying implications. Magistrate He, then I'll await good news. Oh, Magistrate He, why not stay and watch the competition before leaving? Ilya casually suggested, perhaps some of the contestants might head to the northern base in the future. Naturally, the northern base welcomes awakeners. He Chuhong finally relaxed her tightly pressed lips at the mention of awakeners. Song K, Lu Xiaoyu, Su Cha, Lin Yuyu, and Xu Xing were ready. Each team in the throne race event had a maximum of 5 members. Zhuang Qingyan had just undergone surgery and was weak, so Fang Jishu decided to take care of him. Both of their conditions weren't suitable for participating in the marathon and were kindly persuaded by Song K to withdraw. Have you checked the communication devices? Zhuang Qingyan asked, feeling concerned. Song K touched the narrow black collar around her throat. Yeah, the devices are working fine. The finals didn't prohibit communication. The V587 team all wore the mini communication devices developed by Lu Xiaoyu. These operated on an independent frequency, ensuring messages couldn't be intercepted. With all 7 team members simultaneously online, they could communicate at any time. Zhuang Qingyan circled several cities on the map. These places currently have no zombie waves. Old Fang and I will find an opportunity to meet up with you. Wouldn't this be considered external aid? Is it against the rules? Lin Yuyu asked. Zhuang Qingyan calmly shook his head. The only rule to clear the marathon is to collect stamps at various check-in points. To win, you must kill the Zombie King. Apart from that, there are no restrictions. You could even take a spaceship straight to the finish line if you want. Lin Yuyu suddenly realized something. Isn't it unfair? Teams like Shangxing Tea House have a strong foundation and numerous awakeners under their command. If they clear the path in advance and simultaneously collect stamps while killing the Zombie King, couldn't they just clear the game directly? Exactly. If they can pull it off, Zhuang Qingyan replied, this game was never meant to be fair. On the day of the finals, the 16 teams gathered at the gates of Ferrara. As Zhuang Qingyan anticipated, there were quite a few hovercars and steamships present. As soon as the race started, some of them zoomed ahead. Drones capturing the action closely followed, and the personal live streams of the participants were open for viewers, contributing to the swelling wealth in the betting pools outside. The starships drew attention due to their conspicuous designs, more suited for long-distance travel rather than this marathon. Song K's group found an off-road pickup truck with Su Cha at the wheel. Though they fell behind in speed, this final race wasn't solely about speed. V587 quickly reached the first checkpoint, Rainbow Cloud City in District D140. Unfortunately, it was a city that had already fallen to the zombies. The outbound direction was clogged with various private vehicles, making progress nearly impossible. Those trapped in the cars not fast enough to escape were restrained by seatbelts, roaring in panic. Roaming zombies traversed between the traffic, leaving barely any space to maneuver on the main road. A steamship conveniently flew overhead, drawing the attention of the zombies. They turned their collective gaze toward the noise, gathering more and growing increasingly agitated. Trying to force through would definitely waste a lot of time. The team decisively changed course towards the entrance to the city, which had slightly better conditions. Despite some overturned vehicles, they could still manage to pass, albeit barely. Lin Yu glanced at the map. What do you think the check-in point will be? Ilya always had ways to challenge people, such as the flag in the Mirror Lake race, which turned out to be the crystals of mutant zombies. Could it be a level 3 zombie? Song K speculated. As time passed, dealing with mutant zombies had become less challenging. Would Ilya increase the difficulty for this reason? Not very likely. Zhuang Qingyan's calm voice came through the earpiece. The movements of level 3 zombies are uncontrollable. If they move away from their original positions, the distances between checkpoints would change. I lean more towards a fixed location. Doesn't that mean we have to search the entire city? Lin Yu frowned, finding the workload quite extensive. Zhuang Qingyan paused. There's no need to waste time searching. We can take a shortcut. What shortcut? Head to the highest point first. To the highest point? What for? Song K inquired. Zhuang Qingyan chuckled lightly, his magnetic voice coming through the earpiece. Since the finals are being broadcast live throughout, the organizing committee must have done preliminary scouting and filming preparations. No matter where the check-in point is, there will definitely be traces of drones around, and drones produce data. You mean, finding the check-in points from the drones? Lin Yu couldn't hide her surprise. This was simply a strategy like a bug, a breakthrough method like that of a thief. According to Zhuang Qingyan's logic, there would be drones hovering near the checkpoints, leaving behind residual data. Analyzing data was Liu Xiaoyu's specialty. Using process of elimination, he could easily pinpoint the location of the check-in point. The highest point in Rainbow Cloud City was the observation tower in the city center, towering over 500 meters, offering a panoramic view of the entire city. Due to congestion on the main roads, the quickest way to reach it was to take the circular overpass. However, the entrance to the bridge had collapsed, needing clearance. Just as V-587 was about to take action, a group suddenly appeared around the corner. The woman leading them had a doll-like face, sweet-looking. Upon recognizing each other, she was first surprised, then her eyebrows furrowed in anger. What a coincidence, it was Feng Duona and Ferrara Star. The grudge between V-587 and this team could be traced back to Mirror Lake when Feng Duona suspected them of hoarding crystals and aggressively confronted them. In the subsequent arena match, their bassist was knocked out by Liu Xiaoyu in one move. It could be said that Ferrara Star's 2 times advancing was almost jeopardized by V-587. Song K raised a hand, awkwardly greeting, hi. Feng Duona gestured with both middle fingers. Song K. Diplomacy failed. Meeting head-on, they couldn't avoid a confrontation. With Feng Duona's lively yell, the band of awakeners struck a combat stance. The guitarist played a vibrant melody, signaling the attack. The bass and electric piano swiftly followed suit, the deep jazz drums setting the rhythm. The most terrifying part began when Feng Duona started to sing. Turning away, unable to say goodbye seabirds and fish. Falling in love was just an accident V-587 felt their scalp tingling, the piercing discordance hammering their nerves. Xu Xing covered his ears directly, but the noise permeated through. It was like a tired office worker, rudely awakened at 4 or 5 a.m. by someone banging an old drum, evoking not just anger but a murderous intent. Zhuang Qingyan, Song K wanted to ask if Zhuang Qingyan had a way to quiet them down but shouted for a while without any response. She glanced at the signal light and realized it was off. Wow, he and Fang Jishu had turned off the receivers. Song K angrily drew her dual blades and charged toward Feng Duona. Su Cha furrowed his brow, seamlessly blending into the shadows. Simultaneously, Lin Yu, wearing a mask, took a step forward and cleared her throat. Today, we're ready for everything. We're here to stay vigilant. North, south, east, west. Let me tell you who is your father. Lin Yu lowered her voice, completely letting herself go. Her speed of speech was astonishing, uttering strange lyrics. The opponent's music instantly diminished. Feng Duona seemed choked, unable to sing her off-key and unpleasant love song any longer. Lin Yu's lyrics were not only infectious but also came with a debuff that crushed the opponent's morale, leaving them lacking enthusiasm. The guitarist from Ferrara Star ceased playing and, with interest, stroked his chin. Wow, that rapper on the other side is spicy. Hey, you, how about joining our band after the match? Lin Yu, with slightly raised red lips, confidently sang the killing part. In the eyes of the Black Serpent Warrior, you're just a turtle. He will release poison mist to wipe you all out. Ferrara Star fell completely silent. Su Cha slipped from the shadows, tumbling out, his neck turning crimson. Following the Sin City, this second time brought an indescribable, immense sense of shame upon him. Chapter 117. Life and Death Marathon, 8. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. Congratulations, Shengxing Tea House, for successfully checking in. To prevent their identities from being exposed, Lin Yu and Su Cha used random names for the race. She even gave herself a nickname, Rapper Trainee, in the group chat of 7 people, and called Su Cha Black Serpent Warrior, because of the black serpent tattoo on the back of his neck. Song Ke and Shu Xing joined in the fun, respectively naming themselves Master of Spiritual Artifacts and Ice Prince. However, everyone was just playing around. No one expected that Lin Yu would, in this kind of situation, sing unabashedly in such an extremely juvenile way. Not to mention Su Cha, who felt like curling his toes. Even Song Ke was stunned. The audience squatting in the V587 live room burst into laughter instantly, and the barrage of hee-hees and ha-has flooded the screen. Lol, is the Black Serpent Warrior going to transform in the next second? Ha ha ha. I originally thought V587 would make it to the finals based on skill, but turns out it's by making opponents feel awkward. I'll admit, if this rapper releases a single, I'll buy it. It's oddly catchy despite being cheesy. Agreed, +1 to the commenter above. In the official live room, Ake switched the main screen to the 2 confronting teams, commenting with interest, different music styles colliding. What kind of spark will they produce? Let's wait and see. Ferrara is a paradise for musicians, so AI guests immediately began their evaluations. Feng Duona's singing, is that even called a song? Clearly, it's noise pollution. This comment was rather spicy. I find the music of the other contestant quite interesting. Although the rhyming is a bit unpolished and the lyrics are straightforward, her breathing rhythm, including enunciation, is very clear, devoid of the typical issues rappers face. It shows she has some solid foundation. This was an analysis from a professional perspective. Setting aside the music itself, I believe this is also a clever strategy in the face of battle. Luo Qing, who had been quietly watching the match, suddenly spoke up. Oh, Qing, please elaborate. Ake gestured as if to listen attentively. I don't know if anyone noticed this. Luo Qing glanced at the list of competitors. Ms. Rapper Trainee's ability relies on her singing voice, so it takes some time to take effect. Rapper Trainee intentionally used exaggerated and bold lyrics to initially shock the Ferrara Star, causing their concentration to scatter, and then took advantage of the opportunity to gain control. Now, the opponents have fallen into her trap. Luo Qing's technical analysis greatly raised his popularity, and fans were screaming in excitement. Ake nodded in agreement and then burst into laughter, but it doesn't change the fact that she's really hilarious, ha ha ha. Amidst the laughter in the barrage, the situation at the scene in Rainbow Cloud City suddenly changed. After stumbling on flat ground, Su Cha resisted the pressure and ghostly attacked the Ferrara Star. A dark light flashed, and the guitar strings being played were severed. Su Cha revealed his figure, showing a finger tiger wrapped in adhesive tape on his fist, entirely in a ghostly blue, a spiritual artifact. The finger tiger, a common weapon for martial artists, had an extremely sharp striking surface, capable of cutting through iron like mud. Its versatile nature and immense destructive power made it a perfect match for Su Cha. After cutting the guitar strings, Su Cha repeated his previous move. In a flash, he appeared mysteriously behind the bassist. Sensing the danger, the bassist immediately played a flashy and skillful slide. Su Cha was affected, his footing slightly slipping. Just as the bassist was about to escape, he found his feet frozen. Not just him, including Feng Duona and the other 5 members, they were all gradually covered in ice, up to their calves. It was the ice-based awakener from V587, but when did this happen? Why didn't anyone notice? Before they could comprehend, Su Cha made a swift move with his finger tiger, and the bassist's strings snapped. On the other side, Song Ke almost simultaneously made her move with Su Cha. Her dual blades spun down, first dismantling the electric piano and then crashing into the jazz drums, causing them to disintegrate into pieces. After dealing with the two, she turned towards the source of the heinous noise, Feng Duona. Feng Duona, suppressed by Lin Yuyu's ability, couldn't speak at all. Witnessing her teammates consecutively taking hits, she took a deep breath, intending to sing again, but a sharp dark figure struck her, a punch straight to her face. Immediately after, a thick towel was stuffed into her mouth. Poor Feng Duona couldn't even utter a sound before collapsing, seeing stars. In less than 10 seconds, the Ferrara star was completely wiped out. V587's exquisite coordination and rapid response astonished the audience. They didn't need commands or communication. Starting from Lin Yuyu's control, everyone executed the right skills at the perfect moments, subduing their opponents flawlessly. In terms of teamwork, they were even on par with the championship favorites, 3 grandsons and 1 grandpa. The barrage went silent for a few seconds, then quickly transformed from ha 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 to a dense 666. Feng Duona and her group were only temporarily incapacitated and would soon recover on their own. While they were engaged in battle, Lu Xiaoyu cleared a path for them at the bridge entrance. Song Ke and her group bypassed them, swiftly heading towards the skyscraper. Clearing a path through the congested heap of zombies, they ascended to the rooftop of the observation tower, where Zhuang Qingyan's voice resounded in their earpieces once more. I just thought that the player's drone for tracking might change position. Its data capacity is larger than the positioning device. You just turned off the receiver. Song Ke held a grudge, not willing to let it go easily. Cough, cough. Zhuang Qingyan coughed lightly. Try to find the one that hovers in place. You turned off the receiver. Song Ke raised her voice, growing angrier as she thought about it. How could this be? It was agreed upon to face difficulties together, so how could you sneakily turn off the receiver? The captain was furious, and nobody dared to intervene, not even laughing at Zhuang Qingyan. Zhuang Qingyan received a scolding, but he chuckled softly, obediently admitting, I was wrong, Captain. I will listen to the noise with you next time. Song Ke, HMPH. Ferrara. In the hotel suite, He Chuhong tuned into the official live stream. Even while watching the match, she remained focused, sitting with her legs together and her back straight, maintaining an exceptionally upright posture. He Chuhong watched and made notes, particularly focusing on the popular teams like 3 grandsons and 1 grandpa, Shengxing Tea House, Anna Knights, and V587, delving into the profiles of the players. A knock at the door interrupted her. Yin Xiao, the captain of Tustan, entered. They had returned to Ferrara 2 days ago, but He Chuhong had official matters to attend to, so he refrained from disturbing her. Commander, Lu Yuan and Dr. Gao have been sent to Tungwen. The zombie tide has receded, and all the tasks you assigned have been successfully completed, Yin Xiao informed, settling on a couch he found for himself. Stretching out his legs casually, his tone was respectful, yet his attitude was relaxed. He Chu-hong was accustomed to his style and nodded. "You've worked hard. You're not in a rush to return to the base?" Yin Xiao asked, glancing at the projection showing the ongoing match. "Not particularly. I'll be staying in District C-72 for about a week," replied He Chu-hong. "Oh, that's good then," Yin Xiao said casually, touching his earring. He casually asked, "Are you watching the throne race? These competitors are from District C, right?" "There are quite a few exceptional awakeners in District C," replied He Chu-hong without directly answering. Yin Xiao shrugged. He knew He Chu-hong tended to be more gentle in her attitude towards awakeners. In the northern base, strength was the only pass. The more powerful the awakener, the better treatment they received. For instance, the Tustan team, despite nominally serving General Yi, had significant operational freedom and fewer constraints when talking to He Chu-hong. "Why, are you interested too?" He Chu-hong noticed his prolonged gaze on the projection and asked. "Yeah," Yin Xiao chuckled, "but I'm not interested in the competition." Yin Xiao stood up. "Commander He, I'll take my leave." He Chu-hong was watching the official live stream. The scenes kept changing without any specific focus, so he decided to go back and watch the individual live streams of the players instead. Liu Xiaoyu's silver hair fluttered without any breeze as his overwhelming awakened energy spread out. Currently, all 16 final teams were within Rainbow Cloud City, and there were hundreds of player drones alone, not to mention the scene cameras, motion captures, audio systems, tripods, rails, and various other devices, totaling over 500. After about 5 or 6 minutes, Liu Xiaoyu opened his ice blue eyes displaying a plethora of data. Swiftly, the data disappeared, and he raised a brand new, shiny mechanical arm, pointing in a direction. "There, abnormal data flow. A team has already gone there." Zhuang Qingyan's suggestion worked indeed. With a top-tier hacker like Liu Xiaoyu, they could forcibly exploit bugs and find the check-in point. Song Ke made a quick decision. "Let's go." The 5 of them dashed towards their destination, encountering zombie blockades on the way, taking some time to clear them out. Surprisingly, the place Liu Xiaoyu pointed to was a wildlife sanctuary. Rainbow Cloud City Endangered Species Breeding Research Center. Xu Xing read aloud the name on the gate. "What's this?" "No zombies nearby," Su Cha reported after his investigation. Rainbow Cloud City boasts a 5A-level ecological scenic spot in the Alliance, specifically dedicated to cultivating and restoring flora and fauna from ancient civilizations, Zhuang Qingyan explained through the earpiece. "Don't let your guard down. Since Ilya set this as a check-in point, it won't be easy." Song Ke and her team followed behind Liu Xiaoyu, maneuvering through the densely covered bamboo forest. Finally, they arrived at the predatory animal viewing area. Peering down through 3 layers of transparent barriers, they saw an object resembling a wax seal floating on a platform, a holographic projection above it, the emblem of the throne race. Song Ke's spirits lifted. This seemed to be the check-in point. However, getting closer to the check-in point wasn't easy. The perimeter of the park was teeming with various mutated beasts, blocking the entrance entirely. Next to the holographic projection stood a 2-story black and white building, conveniently blocking the platform where the wax seal was placed. After staring for a while, Song Ke noticed something peculiar. The building seemed to have moved. She rubbed her eyes, feeling increasingly unsettled. Just as she leaned in for a closer look, at that moment, the little building lifted its legs. Song Ke gasped, finally seeing it clearly. This wasn't any ordinary building, it was a 2-story tall zombie bear. The bear was massive, its body overweight and covered in patchy, shedding fur that revealed yellowing bones beneath. As it lifted its leg, a large pile of rotten flesh and dried leaves cascaded down, scattering the pinned zombie rats as they fled. Even from a distance, the unmistakable stench of zombie decay filled the air. Fortunately, amidst the unfortunate, the surrounding environment remained quiet. The colossal creature lay napping on its back. The zombie bear rolled over, emitting dog-like murmurs. Its razor-sharp claws, as if surgical blades, lightly scratched the platform, unaware. Lin Yuyu gently nudged Song Ke, gesturing for her to look in another direction. Shangxing Teahouse was also present. Under hushed instructions from Mr. Shang, a faint shadow manifested behind them. Another awakener seemed to shift a few times, stealthily brought above the platform. This was spatial ability? Suddenly, Song Ke recalled encountering this person before. During their time in Luli Port, it was this individual who continuously moved, making it difficult for others to approach the A-level zombies. The gecko-like awakener seemed skilled, agilely maneuvering with limbs adhering tightly to the ceiling like a gecko, inching toward the projection while holding a terminal in their mouth. Upon reaching the projection, they swiftly scanned the wax seal. The zombie bear brushed its ear, its sharp claws slicing through a few strands of hair from the gecko-like awakener who froze in terror, his face turning pale. Luckily, a system prompt arrived swiftly. The holographic projection displayed a line of text. "Congratulations, Shangxing Teahouse, for successfully checking in." Mr. Zhang's face lit up with joy as the spatial awakener exerted force again, bringing back the gecko-like awakener. The group swiftly departed. Song Ke lowered her head and discussed with her companions under the barrier, "Should we follow their lead?" Mr. Shang had demonstrated an excellent example for them. It was a perfect opportunity to act now without alarming the zombie bear, quietly making the check-in and leaving. It would allow them to complete the marathon in Rainbow Cloud City at the fastest pace possible. Although V-587 didn't have a spatial awakener, they had Su Cha, whose stealth abilities were top-notch. "Su Cha, you go for the check-in. I'll cover," Song Ke gestured. "Okay." The two immediately sprang into action. Su Cha silently descended to the lower level, while Song Ke climbed over the beams from above to provide backup. But halfway there, they ran into another team. They exchanged a 2-second gaze and simultaneously made a shush gesture, instantly reaching an understanding. A shared smile passed between the two groups. On the ground, Su Cha was inches away from the platform. Just one reach, and the wax seal would be within grasp. But Song Ke's heart sank slowly. Boom, boom, deafening cannon fire echoed from outside the park, startling the mutated beasts, which scattered in a frenzy. The blocked entrance was violently blasted open. Irene, carrying a rocket launcher single-handedly, kicked over the barrier and, upon seeing Song Ke, raised an eyebrow with a smug grin. Well, if it isn't you guys. So, did you find the check-in point?" "We found it," Song Ke sighed in utter disappointment. Roar! The zombie bear sprang up, its furious roar resonating throughout the entire zoo. Chapter 118. Life and Death Marathon, 9. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. A world-shaking blow. The continuous gunfire startled the originally slumbering zombie panda bear. With its earth-shattering roar, birds took flight in droves, small animals scattered in all directions. On closer inspection, their pupils were a murky gray-white. This wildlife park had long been occupied by various zombie beasts. The moment the zombie panda bear stood up, the holographic projection on the platform shut down. Su Cha froze in place. The stamp, almost within reach, vanished before their eyes. But then, abruptly lowering his head, he executed a swift roll, leaving the spot. Almost simultaneously, the enormous bear paw fiercely swept past, smashing the platform with a resounding bang, leaving deep marks on the ground. "Ah, sorry. It seems we've come at an inopportune time." Irene covered her face, apologizing with a mix of guilt and politeness. Song Ke was about to respond when the zombie panda bear turned its head and spotted her hanging from the ceiling. The massive creature stood on its short hind legs, tilted its head back, bit into the beam, and began to tug it from side to side. The sturdy steel soon cracked and twisted into two pieces. Song Ke made a quick decision and, like swinging on a swing, leapt into the fence where Lin Yu and the others were. The zombie panda bear's front paws slammed heavily onto the ground as it began crawling towards the viewing area. Guns N' Roses immediately raised a rocket launcher and fired at the zombie panda bear, but this behemoth, thick-skinned and robust, was not harmed by the shells. Instead, it became thoroughly enraged. "Where's the stamp?" Song K yelled amidst the relentless artillery fire. "Didn't hit it, it's gone." Su Cha, looking disheveled and having barely made it back, replied in a similar tone. The zombie panda bear charged forward, crashing forcefully. With a resounding crash, the hundreds of kilograms heavy fence gave way and broke apart. Its putrefying and deformed colossal head squeezed into the viewing passage, getting stuck halfway. It thrashed left and right, spraying foul-smelling saliva all over the ground. Xu Xing turned pale with fear, clutching tightly onto Lu Xiaoyu's mechanical arm, gritting his teeth to stifle any sound. The restricted movement of the zombie panda bear led it to start smashing the walls. A deafening boom reverberated from outside the passage, causing the ground to tremble, and chunks of concrete to fall. Another thunderous boom echoed as if it were right next to them. The entire viewing passage seemed on the verge of collapse. "Zhuang Qingyan, the check-in point, it's gone," Song K shouted, touching the collar. "The fire seal stamp is linked to the zombie panda bear's position." Zhuang Qingyan spoke rapidly. "To check in, we have to get it back there." "How do we get it back?" Song K was at wit's end. This bear seemed to have mutated and couldn't understand human speech. "Two ways. Either lure it back or kill it. Its weak point is its head." Song K looked up, and Zhuang Qingyan was right. Compared to its massive 2-story tall body, the zombie panda bear's head appeared particularly delicate, hidden in its sturdy black and white fur, as if afraid others wouldn't know it was its Achilles heel. "Irene, aim for the head," Song K shouted. "Got it." Irene, positioned near the emergency exit, replied loudly. Armor-piercing shells trailed with fiery sparks flew in, but the zombie panda bear had already smashed through the stone wall, retracting its head. It crawled and spun within the park's bamboo grove, its thick fur blocking all attacks, remaining unscathed. Xu Xing attempted to freeze its limbs, but the bear's size was immense, and it broke free in no time. He switched to ice blades, but they couldn't pierce through the creature's hide. Song K and Su Cha jumped down from the passage entrance, approaching the bear once again. Su Cha activated his abilities, enveloping the zombie panda bear in a green poisonous mist. It howled in agony, chunks of flesh falling from its face, but it remained unharmed. Song K climbed up along its sturdy, short legs. A missile flew past her head, exploding on the bear's shoulder, revealing its foul-smelling yellowish bones. The armor was breached. Song K seized the opportunity, drew her dual blades, and thrust relentlessly towards its neck. The spiritual weapon pierced through the fur, sinking deep into the fat layer, getting stuck, not much different from administering an injection. The zombie panda bear flew into a rage, taking a few heavy steps forward, its hefty body occupying the space. It raised its foot to stomp Su Cha, who quickly ran to dodge, but the bear's paw, Pia, slapped him, sending him crashing into a stone wall. Song K wasn't faring much better. Gripping her dual blades, she was tossed around by the zombie panda bear's movements, akin to a kite with a broken string, blowing back and forth in the bamboo grove. Her stomach churned, the world spun before her eyes, and as she saw the bear about to squeeze into the passage again, she knew she'd be flattened if this continued. Thinking quickly, Song K let go, dropping from a height, curling up as she hit the ground. The zombie panda bear's 4 enormous claws stamped back and forth, resembling 4 moving hills of death. Amidst it all, Song K swiftly rolled, her slender figure flickering in and out of sight. Viewers watching the live broadcast were both nervous and thrilled, holding their breath, their hearts pounding in their throats. Holy 4X, did she get stepped on? Did she? Help, I can't bear to watch anymore. Can someone tell me the outcome? No, I've bet everything on V587, give me a sign. In a critical moment, 6 mechanical arms swung into action, lashing at the zombie panda bear's legs midair. Simultaneously, a melodious, ethereal song echoed. The beast's movements stuttered momentarily, and seizing the opportunity, Song K, looking bedraggled, rolled out, spitting out rotten bamboo leaves. The shattered entrance to the passage was temporarily held by Lin Yu and Liu Xiaoyu, while Irene and the others forced the zombie panda bear back with their strongest firepower, but the situation remained dire. Song K understood that the main reason for their current predicament was the absence of a control-type awakener among V587. Zhuang Qingyan might count as one, with his mental prowess strong enough to command a level 3 zombie. The bear, possessing rudimentary intelligence, could likely be controlled, but he wasn't present on site, limited to remote commands through an earpiece. They had no choice but to go for the kill. Song K's eyes turned cold as her fingertips traced the giant slab covering the entire park, casting an eerie blue glow. The zombie panda bear was drawn to the light, its head turning slowly, its empty eye sockets fixing on Song K. At that moment, the bamboo grove within the park shook violently. Countless thorny vines surged upwards as if imbued with life, wrapping firmly around the bear's limbs and neck. 3 figures leapt down from the ceiling's hole, darting in different directions, gripping the vines and pulling backward. Ow! The zombie panda bear was pulled back a step, away from the fence. Behind Guns and Roses, a refined young man in a blue robe stepped out with a serious expression. Song K recognized him immediately. It was Duan Muqi, the 3 grandsons and 1 grandpa, had arrived. His arrival was timely and fortunate. Duan Muqi was a group control type awakener. However, when the 3 grandsons and 1 grandpa leapt down, only 3 individuals followed. The zombie panda bear's left paw was still free. With a sudden swipe, it raised the vines, aiming to flatten Duan Muqi standing at a distance. One person was still missing. Su Cha, who had fallen from the wall, coughed twice, covering his mouth, and swiftly ran towards the gap, grabbing hold of the thorns there. At moments like this, there was no need for verbal communication between the teams. None of them could take on the zombie panda bear alone. To complete the checkpoint, they had to work together to eliminate the obstacle before them. Not enough strength. Xiao Chen's face flushed red, veins bulging on the back of his hand as he shouted forcefully. The 4 awakeners, dragged by the zombie panda bear, kept sliding forward. Members of Guns and Roses, V587, and even 2 other teams that had been watching from the shadows didn't hesitate. They jumped down, grabbing onto the vines on the ground, pulling backward, engaging in a strenuous tug of war with the zombie panda bear. Song K's spiritual weapon transformation was nearly complete. The ethereal blue light grew brighter, almost blinding, encompassing her from head to toe. In full view of everyone, a heavy, dominating war hammer gradually took shape, its head almost as large as the zombie panda bear's body, emitting a metallic sharp clang in the air. With both hands gripping the hammer's handle, Song K's face reddened. Amidst the astonished gazes of everyone present, she raised the war hammer high. Dragging her steps towards the zombie panda bear, muscles tensed, her entire core strength erupted. She lifted the war hammer high. Boom! A thunderous impact, deafening, struck the zombie panda bear's head, causing it to cave in halfway. The entire bear took a step back, the awakener gripping the vines stumbling under its pull. Boom! Boom! The zombie panda bear retreated as Song K advanced, swinging the war hammer with a fierce whirlwind. With her small stature wielding a colossal hammer nearly 5 to 6 meters tall, she mercilessly struck the zombie panda bear's skull again and again. The bear was pushed back repeatedly by the hammer blows, its roars gradually weakening until it finally reached the ruined remains of the initial platform. With an impetus, Song K twisted her waist and abdomen, and her slender body unexpectedly leapt into the air. Her hands lifted the enormous hammer high above her head and brought it crashing down. If time stood still, the impact of this scene would be hard to describe in words. Boom! The devastating strike of the war hammer obliterated the entire head of the zombie panda bear. Its skull rolled away, and putrid brain matter sprayed recklessly in the park. Song K, at the forefront, was drenched from head to toe, and everyone else suffered as well. The headless zombie panda bear staggered briefly due to inertia before crashing heavily to the ground. Whether in Rainbow Cloud City, Ferrara, or even other regions in the eastern part of the Alliance, viewers watching the live broadcast were collectively silent. The immersive experience left such an impact that some people, still shaken, checked their own necks to ensure they were unharmed. After the silence, an eruption followed. The screen was filled with 666 barrage comments, and V587's support rate skyrocketed instantly. The holographic projection reactivated, and the fire seal stamp of Rainbow Cloud City reappeared. After the other two teams completed their check-in points, they stared at Song K for a few seconds with eyes akin to seeing a comet, then hastily retreated. Duan Muqi nodded slightly at Song K. After all, they were opponents, harboring old grudges. It wasn't appropriate to say much. He led his team away. The girls from Guns N' Roses looked at Song K in speechless gratitude. Wanting to express their thanks, they were repelled by the foul stench emanating from her. They approached hesitantly but ended up covering their mouths and rushing out, gagging. Song K. Irene wiped off the flesh splattered on her and grinned, giving her a thumbs up. Let's catch up later, after the game. We're heading out now. She turned gracefully and walked away. However, Song K keenly observed Irene, who covered her mouth with one hand, clearly feeling queasy. Sister, Xu Xing dashed over cheerfully, ready for a hug. But upon reaching her, he abruptly stopped, hesitating. Lin Yuyu and Lu Xiaoyu didn't hide their disgust, pinching their noses. A faint chuckle came through the earpiece. Zhuang Qingyan didn't say anything, yet it seemed like he said everything. Song K, is it really that bad? She gingerly picked up her coat and took a deep breath. Gag. She almost gagged from her own odor. Dubbed as a kind reminder by Lin Yuyu and the others, but actually more like forceful insistence, they demanded she change clothes. Her cheeks puffed up, muttering, "Who am I doing this for?" She had to endure the stench while wiping off the decaying flesh and blood. After cleaning herself up and changing clothes, the others completed the first check-in point. V587 officially departed from Rainbow Cloud City, heading to the next stop, Greenwater City in District D132. Zhuang Qingyan and Fang Jishu would meet up with them there. Though Greenwater City hadn't suffered from the undead onslaught yet and seemed temporarily safe, it was situated near multiple sea districts, some of which had fallen. Consequently, refugees fleeing the chaos were converging towards Greenwater City, prompting the establishment of makeshift shelters both inside and outside the city. What Song K didn't know was that, at this moment, in a certain shelter outside Greenwater City, an elderly person watching the match couldn't believe their eyes, murmuring to themselves, "Could it be Girl K?" Chapter 119. Life and Death Marathon, 10, Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. Missing check-in point. Outside the Greenwater City at the intersection of the expressway, an off-road pickup truck revved its engine to the max, wildly drifting towards them. As it approached, the exaggerated 180-degree spin of the vehicle narrowly stopped just in time, with Zhuang Qingyan and Fang Jishu already waiting for a while. Song K leaned out from the passenger seat. "Old Fang, hurry up." Ever since Zhuang Qingyan stopped calling him Dr. Fang and switched to Old Fang, everyone else had followed suit. Fang Jishu briskly hopped onto the pickup truck. His gaze scanned inside and saw that the driver's seat was now occupied by Lu Xiaoyu. It was the same car he had been driving earlier. Xu Xing was seated in the back, with Lin Yuyu supporting someone in the middle. Fang Jishu breathed a sigh of relief upon seeing them. The reason for their urgency was because Su Cha had been injured. As a close combat expert of the offensive type ability, clashes resulting in injuries and bloodshed were unavoidable. However, this time Su Cha was genuinely unlucky. He had been sent flying by the zombie bear in a direction where there happened to be protruding steel bars. Despite Su Cha's exceptional reflexes allowing him to twist away in time to avoid a fatal puncture, he still collided with the joint, causing his whole body to vibrate intensely. After a quick examination, Fang Jishu swiftly said, "He's broken 2 ribs, but luckily, they are not displaced. I will fix them so that they will not affect the movement." A bright white energy flowed from Fang Jishu's palms, an A-level healing ability, significantly easing Su Cha's pain, and his complexion returned to normal. Lin Yuyu reclined the seat, squatting in front of Su Cha. She gently pressed around the wound, saying, "Does it hurt? If it does, speak up. Sister will help you feel better." After knowing that everything was fine, her tightly pursed red lips relaxed, and she even had the mind to tease Su Cha. Su Cha, at a height of 1.9 meters, curled back a bit, the muscles of his waist and legs instantly tensed, resembling a stimulated cheetah ready to pounce on its prey at any moment. However, after the tension, he still crouched down, allowing Lin Yuyu to examine him up and down. "It's really okay," he paused and added in a low voice, "Don't joke about it." Meanwhile, Zhuang Qingyan didn't hurry to get on the car. He took out a bottle of spray from his bag and handed it to Song Ke. "Here, what's this? Molecular deodorizer. I thought the captain might really need it." Song Ke stared at Zhuang Qingyan, momentarily unable to tell whether he was genuinely giving a helpful reminder or teasing her. Ever since Zhuang Qingyan had his leg surgery, he visibly became more cheerful, often teasing Song Ke and frequently getting on her nerves. Song Ke, expressionless, unscrewed the bottle and aimed it at Zhuang Qingyan, giving a vigorous spray. "Song Kiki." Zhuang Qingyan raised his hand to block, but with little effect. He used his forearm to hold down the wheelchair, raised his right leg slightly, and made a half-rising motion. Unfortunately, he had little support and fell back down. Song Ke slammed the car door shut, leaning against the window, smiling triumphantly at him, the little dimples filled with joy at the corners of her cheeks. Beep beep. The driver, Liu Xiaoyu, couldn't bear watching the scene from the driver's seat and bluntly honked the horn. "Hey, have you forgotten? We're still in a marathon. Greenwater City doesn't have a zombie tide, nor does it boast an ecological scenic area. Its modernization is commendable, with well-established infrastructure, and there aren't any wild animals, reducing the likelihood of mutated ferocious beasts," Zhuang Qingyan calmly analyzed as he viewed the footage captured by the drone. "It seems like there's nothing particularly noteworthy about it." Lin Yuyu frowned, showing difficulty. "So, where could its check-in point be?" After studying the city map for a while, they found it challenging to make an effective judgment based on the information they currently possessed. "Let's stick to the old method of searching for anomalous data, or else we'll have to search the city." Lin Yuyu inadvertently switched to the thermal imaging mode with a tap of her finger. The map instantly shrank, revealing the overall view of the surrounding areas. As an essential transportation hub in the eastern part of the Alliance, Greenwater City bordered 3 C districts to the north and south and was surrounded by the D districts in the east and west. At this moment, most of its neighboring areas appeared in dark gray, a sign indicating the city's occupation by the zombie tide. "I have a question," Fang Jishun spoke after a moment of silence. "Is the number of refugees in Greenwater City too high?" According to the thermal imaging display, both Greenwater City and nearby shelters were surrounded by a multitude of colorful heat sources. Despite the real-time view showing refugees fleeing, the sight and numbers were enough to chill one's heart. "Exactly," Zhuang Qingyan nodded slowly, "and it's increasing." As he spoke, he paused, faintly sensing why Ilya chose Greenwater City. The off-road pickup raced ahead, quickly approaching Greenwater City. They could already see the towering walls and iron mesh fences from a distance. However, the road gradually narrowed, and the flow of people became increasingly dense. When passing by shelters, Liu Xiaoyu had to slow down the vehicle. Countless refugees instantly swarmed the pickup truck, surrounding it completely. Some grasped the bumper, attempting to climb onto the roof, while others desperately banged on the glass windows, using hand gestures to plead with those inside to open the doors. In such a situation, V-587's vehicle could hardly move an inch. Looking up, they were surrounded by faces in panic from all directions. Elderly individuals with tears streaming down their faces, women whose disheveled hair held infants tightly, and aggressive men punching and kicking the vehicle while yelling, "Open the door." The pickup truck had one-way tinted glass, rendering the outside situation obscure to those inside, but those within could clearly see what was happening. "What do they want?" Xu Xing angrily shouted, almost as if in response. The loud banging of a hammer striking the car echoed. "They want to get into the city," Fang Jishu sighed. "They want us to take them in." "We can't open the doors," Zhuang Qingyan said coldly. "We can't open the doors." He slowed his speech, repeating the words with firmness. Silence enveloped the people inside the car. Song Kei's long eyelashes drooped down silently, offering no opposition. Zhuang Qingyan was right. Wanting to save people also meant assessing whether they had the capability. These refugees were undoubtedly in a dire situation, but one car couldn't save them all. Opening the doors at this moment would only lead to greater chaos, with unpredictable consequences. "Accelerate, charge through," Zhuang Qingyan spoke sternly. The engine roared louder. Some of the refugees hesitated and backed off, but more daring ones clung to the roof, banging it with hard objects. Liu Xiaoyu's mechanical arm forcefully pressed the accelerator. The off-road pickup truck surged forward like a sharp axe splitting through water, unstoppable, causing those blocking the path to startle and dodge, watching helplessly as the truck sped toward the city gate. Greenwater City was completely sealed off, covered by a thick iron mesh outside the city walls, with high-voltage electric currents shimmering. An official in municipal hall uniform stood on a lookout post 3 to 4 meters above the ground, holding a megaphone, shouting hoarsely, "We're already overloaded with the refugees we've accepted. We can't allow more people in. Please, everyone, wait a little longer. Please be patient. If there's any extra space, we'll make sure to let everyone in at the earliest opportunity." The city gate was crowded with refugees unwilling to leave. Even smashing the horn had no effect. Zhuang Qingyan opened the public address system and spoke upwards. "We're participants in the throne race competition. Please allow us entry into the city." Hearing the words, "entry into the city," the surrounding crowd became instantly excited, pushing forward madly, managing to move the off-road pickup truck half a meter. The official was in a panic, adamantly refusing to open the gate, shouting, "Permission granted to enter. Find your own way in." Find their own way in. That meant finding their own way. Song Kei sighed. The sunroof of the pickup truck opened, and with swift movements, Song Kei threw a section of a spiritual weapon grappling hook that hooked onto the entrance of the lookout post. Then, with a single hand, she pulled up Zhuang Qingyan. They soared into the air, Song Kei using the wall to propel herself up, showcasing her agility to everyone, like a skilled acrobat. Su Cha lifted Lin Yuyu, following the same procedure, closely behind Song Kei's landing. With Xu Xing and Fang Jishu held by Liu Xiaoyu on each side, his mechanical arms extended, grabbing the wall, and lifting them up, safely landing them atop. In just a few seconds, all 7 members of V-587 arrived at the lookout post. Before the official finished his sentence of, "Find your own way in," a row of people suddenly appeared in front of him. "We're in," Song Kei said calmly. The official, holding the megaphone, stared in amazement. That was pretty quick. After the completion of the player verification process, Song Kei glanced once more at the crowded masses below the city walls before turning away. The situation inside Greenwater City wasn't much better than outside. The influx of people from nearby cities had overwhelmed it. Streets and alleys were lined with makeshift tents, refugees sleeping on the ground, enduring harsh conditions. The atmosphere was bleak, filled with anxiety and fear. Wanting to emulate their strategy in Rainbow Cloud City by finding the check-in point drone, V-587 found that the committee might have become wary and retrieved the drones. Besides the filming drone, Li Hao couldn't detect any useful data. They spent half a day circling within the city but found no anomalies. Now what do we do? Song K asked. Zhuang Qingyan lowered his gaze towards the visible refugee camps and uttered a single word. Wait. If he guessed correctly, the check-in point would soon manifest on its own. Outside Greenwater City, shortly after V-587 entered, several steamships and floating cars followed suit. The gathering refugees grew increasingly agitated, unable to contain their angry queries. Why can they go in? Let us in, the zombie tide is coming, let us in. Open the doors. The officials from the municipal hall shouted themselves hoarse, but the refugees, enveloped in the shadow of the zombie tide, had lost their rationality completely. With eyes reddened, they pushed forward blindly, unwilling to touch the high-voltage electric fence, instead, colliding with the lower protective barriers. Boom! A deafening noise reverberated as those in the front, propelled by their momentum, unexpectedly fell. But the refugees behind were oblivious, continuing their frenzied push, trampling their compatriots mercilessly. Boom! The official on the lookout post staggered, and bits of wall debris fell. Armed soldiers aimed at the crowd below, uncertain where to engage. Boom! The sturdy barriers gave way, the city gates teetered, and thousands upon thousands of refugees, seeing a glimmer of hope, broke free, rushing madly towards Greenwater City. From a high vantage point, the mass of people, distorted figures running amok, bore no distinction from the zombie tide. Inside the city, Song K and the others received a system prompt. Greenwater City check-in point has appeared. Chapter 120. Life and Death Marathon, 11. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. Song K equals White-Eyed Wolf? Charge, just charge in and you'll survive. Don't push, stop pushing. Two completely opposite voices rang out simultaneously. The high-pressure iron net had already twisted and deformed. Those at the front charged forward like falling dominoes, pinned down under the weight, unable to move. They convulsed from head to toe, foaming at the mouth, shrieking in agony, instantly meeting their demise, electrocuted. Yet, the following tide of refugees continued frenziedly, trampling over the bodies of their compatriots, striving to cross over the tall wall. Under wave after wave of impact, the outer wall of Greenwater City collapsed under unbearable pressure, and the swarming refugees finally surged in. Just above the pile of victims, a radiant holographic projection descended, bearing the seal of Greenwater City. From afar, it appeared like a flower blooming from corpses, a malevolent blossom nurtured by flesh and blood. Mass hysteria. Zhuang Qingyan spoke with a somber face, explaining the horrifying phenomenon from a psychological perspective. When individuals with similar demands gather and become part of a group, their behavior no longer bears individual responsibility. Normal constraints disappear, and they become blindly obedient, cruel, paranoid, and fanatical, resorting to violence and aggression to fulfill their own desires. Greenwater City is finished, Zhuang Qingyan said coldly. With its defenses breached, Greenwater City lay wide open, akin to a vulnerable infant, susceptible to being obliterated by even a small-scale wave of corpses. After we check in, we leave, Song K decided firmly. The 7 individuals turned back towards the direction of the city gate. Song K hurried like the wind. After scaling the city wall, she leapt into the air. Her oversized coat fluttered in the wind as she landed lightly on top of the pile of corpses. Her feet touched the warm bodies, blood instantly soaking through her shoes. The bodies, dead from the stampede, had already piled up several tens of meters high, extending over an area of about 200 meters in diameter. However, the checkpoint was buried at the very bottom of the corpse mountain. Song Kei conjured a shovel and began digging. As she dug, her eyes inadvertently met those of a girl. The girl appeared to be about the same age as her, pinned down by a dozen or so people. Her left half twisted unnaturally into a contorted mass, weakly pleading for help from Song Kei. Save me. Song Kei fell silent for 2 seconds, then discarded the shovel, using her hands to peel away the layers of bodies to drag the girl out. Even though she knew in her heart that even if she freed her, the girl wouldn't survive. Her hands quickly became covered in sticky, fresh blood and fragmented innards. Once the survivor regained her freedom, she weakly smiled at Song Kei, thank. Before she could finish her words, a rumbling particle cannon descended from the sky, striking the pile of bodies, its explosion engulfing Song Kei and the girl in an instant. Song Kei, Captain, Sister, members of the V-587 on the other side shouted loudly. The glaring light gradually faded away, leaving behind gaping holes in the pile of corpses caused by the explosion. Song Kei crawled out from the shattered wreckage, barely recognizable, yet miraculously unharmed. However, as she looked down, the girl who had just been there was now blown to pieces by the blast. Song Kei closed her eyes, refusing to look at her anymore, swiftly turning her gaze towards the attackers. Apart from V-587, several other teams had swiftly arrived, including the reorganized Ananites. Despite the severe blow to their strength after Song Kei single-handedly took down their ace, Siang, they remained formidable opponents not to be underestimated. Members of the Ananites were using heavy weaponry to clear the area. These robotic entities seemed impatient, blasting openings with particle cannons only to have new bodies cover the gaps. They resorted to jumping onto the city walls, facing the surging civilians, ruthlessly using their abilities to massacre, limbs flying and bodies torn apart. The Ananites showed no emotion, treating it like exterminating a bunch of inconspicuous cockroaches, violently tearing down defenses, steadily approaching their checkpoint. There was a momentary confusion in Song Kei's eyes. What were they doing? Was this right? Before entering the throne race, all participants had signed waivers, acknowledging the risk of death with every victory they sought. As long as it meant winning, any means were deemed justifiable. But this wasn't killing zombies. This was, damn it, it was killing people, an outright massacre. Song Kei's fists clenched tighter as she abruptly leapt onto the fractured wall, her cold, sharp movements driving back the refugees who were still pressing forward. Don't come any closer, move back. Those at the front realized the danger and tried to escape, fear evident on their faces. However, the refugees rushing from the shelter remained oblivious, heedlessly shoving forward, inadvertently sending countless compatriots to their demise. Zhuang Qingyan looked up at Song Kei from a higher vantage point, one hand pressed tightly against his forehead. This couldn't continue. If the refugee tide didn't recede, they wouldn't be able to approach the checkpoint. He rapidly recalled the map of Greenwater City. Aside from the main gate, there were 3 other exits on the east, west, and north sides. Open the side gates, let them in. Liu Xiaoyu and the others instantly grasped his intention. They dispersed, using their abilities to attack the defensive line. Greenwater City was beyond saving. Sooner or later, it would be overrun by the uncontrollable refugees. Their immediate task was to swiftly evacuate the crowd congested at the main gate, preventing further stampede incidents. Sounds of the city walls collapsing echoed from the east and west sides, accompanied by choking clouds of smoke and dust. Zhuang Qingyan mobilized his awakened energy, his commanding voice resonating clearly above Greenwater City, exerting pressure. Listen, everyone. The main gate is sealed off. There are new entrances 1 kilometer to the east and 2 kilometers to the southwest. If you want to enter the city, head there. The entrance capacity is limited. Seize the opportunity. Whoever runs fast will survive. Human nature probably couldn't tolerate words like limited or restricted. As Zhuang Qingyan's voice echoed, the refugees at the rear slowed down, hesitated for a moment, then turned and ran to the sides. It was like a miraculous scene from Moses parting the sea. The blocked crowd automatically diverted, dispersing at an extremely fast pace. With the release at the back, the pressure ahead suddenly decreased, and the number of trampled bodies stopped increasing. Song Ke had just breathed a sigh of relief when suddenly curses came from behind, and a row of particle cannons fired at her. What the hell are you guys doing? If you don't want to compete, then quit quickly. I've had it with you for a long time. Song Ke raised the cold, sharp saw to deflect the attack, glanced up, and saw members of the Ananites glaring at her viciously. Her brow furrowed in confusion for a moment, but then she was astonished to realize that the check-in point, previously buried beneath the trampled bodies, had vanished. But she quickly understood, since it was a check-in point nourished by bloodshed. As the violence dispersed, the checkpoint naturally disappeared. You just wait for me. Aware of Song Ke's prowess, the Ananites didn't want to confront her head-on at this moment. They only left threatening words behind and departed. The influx of refugees into the city had nowhere to go. Gradually, they transformed from lost lambs to fierce wolves. They ignited parked vehicles with gasoline, shattered the glass of storefronts along the streets, and even broke into and invaded the homes of terrified residents. Extreme anger and fear drowned out the rationality of these individuals. They were no longer refugees but had transformed into outright rioters. Malice brewed incessantly within them. The blade of death would always fall. If they couldn't escape doomsday, then everyone would perish together. Song Ke gazed ahead, noticing a projection descending from a certain spot in the high sky, disappearing the next instant, only to reappear in another direction. The location of the check-in point kept changing, with the shortest stay lasting just a few seconds. Split up, Song Ke said, and reach the check-in point as quickly as possible. Amidst blaring alarms and shouts, Song Ke maneuvered through the panicked crowd. Vehicles set ablaze careened wildly, and if she wasn't careful, she'd find herself face to face with them, triggering raging fires. She narrowly dodged to the roadside, narrowly avoiding disaster. Girl K, it's you. A ragged old man suddenly grabbed her. You're Girl K, right? Song Ke paused, staring at the old man for 2 seconds before recognizing him. Grandpa Cheng. Old Man Cheng, in an excited tone, tightened his grip on her wrist. It's really you, Girl K. This is so good, so good. He kept repeating, so good, as his thin fingers clenched tighter, as if afraid she would vanish. Now you're an awakener, you've made something of yourself. I saw you in that competition, I knew you would come, you must have a way. Quickly, take Grandpa away from here, find a safe place. Old Man Cheng's eyes gleamed, his speech fast and urgent. After leaving District F-177, Old Man Cheng's feverish son mutated into a zombie on the starship and was killed by other passengers. His daughter-in-law, upon reaching District C, ran away with the money and grandchild when he wasn't looking. Fortunately, Old Man Cheng had already moved his funds. He had planned to retire peacefully in District C, but soon after settling down, the zombie tide arrived, destroying the city where he resided. Having fallen into despair and near the vicinity of Greenwater City, Song Ke's appearance reignited hope within him. No, no, Song Ke slowly shook her head, resolutely pulling her hand away. Indeed, her wrist was red from his grip. I still need to compete. Old Man Cheng's expression turned cold in an instant. Why not? Don't you want to help Grandpa? Song Ke sighed inwardly. Old Man Cheng still saw her as that naive girl from District F, wanting her to abandon the competition, leave her companions, and abandon the zombie king that could threaten the next city, just to take him to a safe place. How could someone be so selfish? Song Ke's reluctance to dwell on the past didn't mean he could manipulate her again. She didn't bother saying more. She turned to leave. A passerby accidentally bumped into Old Man Cheng's back, causing him to stumble. At that moment, a surveillance drone flew by, capturing a close-up shot of the two. Old Man Cheng suddenly leapt up, his aged face directed at the camera of the unmanned aerial vehicle. The screen flickered, displaying his extreme indignation. "Song K, you white-eyed wolf. I've raised you with hardship. I'm your grandpa, yet you'd watch me die in front of you." The refugees in Greenwater City were busy escaping for their lives, indifferent to the spectacle before them. However, across the screen, Old Man Cheng's actions stirred a commotion, not just among the viewers in the Eastern Alliance but also Ferrara, inciting outrage. Anti-fans, standing on the moral high ground, pointed fingers. Even ignoring her own grandpa, didn't expect Captain V587 to be this kind of person. She seems strong, but her heart is so dark. Regretting voting for her, saving someone in passing, why can't she be a bit kinder? "You're not my grandpa." Song K halted her steps, her voice lowering to an icy point, each word enunciated. She initially intended to shake him off and leave, but Old Man Cheng persistently brought up "grandpa," poking at her pain. "You don't deserve to be my grandpa." She blamed herself for not noticing the messages left by Song Ziyuan on the screen. Yet, Old Man Cheng deliberately concealed it, never mentioning it once. Song K swung the cold, sharp saw precisely, tearing Old Man Cheng's collar and revealing the chilling expression on her face. "Get lost." Old Man Cheng's eyes darted around, completely abandoning any shame, clutching his chest. My heart. How could you little beast, you white-eyed wolf, are you trying to kill me? No, you want to kill me." Speechless, Song K turned away. Her actions were measured, not even harming Old Man Cheng in the slightest. Why was he spouting such nonsense? Old Man Cheng noticed her movement, suddenly exerting infinite strength, grabbing her trouser leg, falling to the ground, wailing incessantly, refusing to let go. The drone captured the elderly man's dehydrated and cracked skin, the prominent veins on his hand, and his pained expression, all recorded vividly. The barrage of comments condemning her continued, and V587's support rate plummeted rapidly. "I can't stand it. How could you attack an innocent old man? You'll face retribution. Poor old grandpa, he looks like he's about to pass out. Where did these holier-than-thou people come from upstairs? Maybe you should go be a saint in Rainbow Cloud City?" Exactly, this old man using moral manipulation. The old grandpa is ill, and Song K is so strong, can't she help a bit? "You're just talking, why don't you go and help?" I didn't participate in the competition, it's not my business." The comments in the barrage became chaotic, and AI administrators kept banning waves after waves of users. Song K had never been this angry, yet she couldn't actually kill Old Man Cheng. It would complicate things beyond explanation. Some people are naturally bad at arguing. When emotions run high, their language system goes haywire. That was Song K's case. Coupled with her stuttering issue, she ended up muttering, %% and asterisk you, for a while, unable to muster a complete sentence to hurl back. "Hey, you rotten old man. You've been on my nerves for too long." Lin Yu, wearing a mask, suddenly rushed from behind the two, her tone rattling like a machine gun. "You embezzled money from others, treated a child coldly, and yet have the nerve to fake emotions here? Heart trouble? I'm a doctor, let me have a look." Fang Jishu stepped forward without hesitation, holding Old Man Cheng's arm for a checkup. Old Man Cheng struggled desperately, but Fang Jishu, despite looking fragile, being an awakener, had no trouble restraining him. "The old man is vigorous and in excellent health, stronger than the average person, no ailments whatsoever," Fang Jishu said coldly. "Song K has a real grandpa." "What kind of grandpa are you shameless one? Embezzling money, abandoning a child to fend for themselves, or when the apocalypse came, kicking her out, abandoning her to the zombie tide? If I were you, I'd kneel down and apologize to Song K. You still morally manipulate her, expecting her to save you? Disgusting." Lin Yuyu's firepower was at its peak, relentlessly firing. Lu Xiaoyu's fingers flew, adding in, up until April 5, new calendar year 47. Cheng Aiwang illegally seized Song Kei's assets totaling over 1.2 million and refused to return them. The amount reaches the highest sentencing standard, and as her legal guardian, he committed abandonment. He hacked into Oldman Cheng's personal account, tracing it back to the day Song Ziyuan sent money. Every financial transaction was crystal clear, even snapshots of his proud face while swiping his card, like a public execution. The drones filming caught wind of the big scandal, immediately zooming in on the screen, capturing irrefutable evidence. The anti-fans who had just rallied behind Oldman Cheng, condemning Song Kei for her lack of conscience, vanished into thin air, mouths sealed shut. Zhuang Qingyan patted Song Kei on the back, comforting her softly, "Don't mind them. People are often stupid." With a bit of cheap sympathy and tears, they easily overlook the provokers and instead criticize those who react in anger. Song Kei glanced lazily at him, not really paying attention, but she lowered her voice, genuinely musing, "So much money." Zhuang Qingyan, having lived through the post-apocalyptic struggles, especially worrying about earning money for the team, mainly for Lu Xiaoyu, Song Kei realized for the first time just how wealthy her grandfather was. She had missed the chance to become a little rich lady. Cheng Aiwang, having been thoroughly scolded by Lin Yuyu and exposed by Lu Xiaoyu, found himself unable to save face. His retreat, despite his insults of "little beast," "white-eyed wolf," couldn't hide the defeat in his eyes. He walked away, seemingly unperturbed. Zhuang Qingyan's eyes flashed and Oldman Cheng's hunched figure stiffened for a moment before he nonchalantly continued on his way. These insignificant details went unnoticed by others. Song Kei looked at her allies who had stood up for her, feeling grateful but a bit lost. "Thanks, every-wa." Lin Yuyu reached out, pinching and squishing Song Kei's cheeks. If you can't handle it, just call for us." Song Kei mumbled unclearly, You don't squish me." Lu Xiaoyu opened the terminal and displayed footage from the drone, announcing, "Stop kidding around. There's bad news." On the thermal imager, a large green radiation zone was closing in on Greenwater City, less than 5 kilometers away. "The real zombie tide is coming." Song Kei pushed away Lin Yuyu's hand and shouted at the team, "Check-in point." Quickly, she bounced away, running swiftly. Lu Xiaoyu glanced sideways at the silent Zhuang Qingyan. "Why didn't you say something? Don't tell me you didn't know." With Zhuang Qingyan's mental abilities, he must have sensed the approaching zombie tide but had not warned anyone. "You did something," Lu Xiaoyu sounded certain. Zhuang Qingyan raised an eyebrow. "I always retaliate when provoked." Oldman Cheng's eyes were confused, and he stood bewildered at the city gate, momentarily forgetting what he was supposed to do. "Why am I here?" he muttered, puzzled. His plan to leave with Song Kei's help shattered. He needed to think of another way. Oldman Cheng accessed his terminal, wanting to check the balance in his account. Even though money had minimal value during the apocalypse, having money was still preferable. But soon, he froze. There was nothing in his personal account. His money, all of it, was gone. Oldman Cheng lifted his head in disbelief, his dilated pupils reflecting the distant, undulating black tide. What's that?" His face showed horror, his voice lost. Oldman Cheng tried to escape, but his limbs felt frozen in place, unable to move. A continuous wave of zombies surged towards Greenwater City, breaking through the seemingly non-existent defense line and instantly overwhelming Oldman Cheng. In the fleeting moment before losing consciousness, Oldman Cheng had a vague feeling that the zombie, bearing its fangs, bore some resemblance to Song Ziyuan.